name's Josh. I'm a Year 6 teacher in the UK, which is children between 10 and 11-year-olds. This year in the UK and last year, we saw the full implementation of the new curriculum. And one of the big changes in English was that children are now required to learn a lot of grammatical terminology, correct grammatical terminology. So to help my Year 6s with that, I designed a card game to help practice their grammatical terms and what they mean. So this is a card game for 2 people. Each player will get a deck of cards, like this. And each player is a summoner in the world of battling grammar. And the objective of the game is to defeat the opponent by summoning forth these grammatical monsters who will go out and attack the opponent for you. And they will defend incoming attacks as well. But to summon these monsters, you need to use their power words, which is where we get the grammatical features from. Each one has a grammatical term attached to it, so in this case it's the adjective. And to summon that monster, you need to use an adjective. So that's where our practicing our grammatical terms come into play. Now this game's not going to help children see the effectiveness of these grammatical features in their writing, which actually is probably the most important part of learning grammar, is understanding what effect it has on the writer and the reader. This is just to help practice the terms. So in this series of videos, I'll explain how you play the game. It's very much like a lot of collectible card games out there. Show you how you build your decks, what all the symbols mean on the cards, and then also how to play the game. All these cards are available. I've made them myself. They're all available from my blog, and I've also put them on the TES website. So if you fancy having a go at them, if you're a teacher or just someone that wants to have a play with it, then you can. Let me know how you've got on as well. I'd love to hear how other people are playing the game. I found it a really fun and interesting way, and so have the children in my class this year, to practice their grammatical terminology. So in this video we'll look at how we build the deck and what all the symbols mean on the card. Okay, so to start playing Battling Grammar, a player will need a deck of cards. Okay, now the amount of cards in a deck can vary depending on which cards you're using and which cards the children have covered in their grammar lessons. The cards, there are 2 different types of cards, as you can see here. I've got white cards and black cards. Now they have different functions in the game. These white cards are what we call support cards, and these black ones are what we call core cards. Now I've double-sided printed these, especially the black ones, and you'll see why that's a little bit important in the next video. So to start off with, I'll just go through what each of these cards do and the symbology on both of them. So let's start with the core cards. Now actually you can see I've laminated them, which is why they're shining the light a little bit. I apologise for that, but seeing as I can't print a card, it's the easiest way to protect the cards. Now the core cards are all the monsters that you will be summoning. Okay, and you can see we've got lots of different nasty monsters as well as some helpful monsters in there as well. Now this is one deck of cards. Each deck is slightly themed. So this is the forest deck, and you can see we've got forest creatures and fantastical forest monsters in there as well. So you'll notice that the cards have got lots of symbols on them, and I'm going to explain what those mean and how they help you play the game. So let's start off with our adjectives. Okay, so we can see on the card, the main feature of the card is the monster in the middle. This is a rather interesting wood cat of some sort. At the bottom we have the name of the card, the grammatical name of the card. So in this case it's the adjective. So that's like the monster's power word that you need to use to activate it and summon it. So this one is an adjective. Now you know it's a core card because it's got a black background. Now core cards are all the different word types we have in English. So we saw nouns, verbs, adjectives and things like that. So they're all the core word types in grammar. So we have the name, adjective. Underneath we have an abbreviation of that name, which are AD. Now this is really in reference to other cards, so you know what cards connect to this one, because connecting cards is really important in this game. So so if it's in a sort of oblong box like this, it's just an abbreviation of the term above. What you have here is also an arrow. Okay, now this arrow tells you which card this one connects to. So the symbol N, we need to find another card that has N as its abbreviation. Now in this case it is a noun. So we can connect those two cards because it tells us that an adjective can connect to a noun. So we have an adjective and a noun, whatever you might want to say in that. The big cat maybe, or I've chucked in an article as well. Hey ho. So that's what that symbol there means. Okay. Now the important bits for defeating your enemy are the symbols at the top. Now you see we've got a shield symbol here and a kind of blast symbol here. The numbers inside these symbols tell us how much defense and how much attack power this creature has. So we can see in the defense symbol, which is like a shield, this creature has 6 defense power. In the sort of blast symbol, tells us the attack power. So this creature has 9 attack power. So when we attack with this creature, it will do 9 attack, and if we defend with it, it will do 6. So these are the core cards, which are basically the cards that we connect to. Okay, so what core cards have we got? Now there are word types that I haven't quite developed yet, but you'll see we have got adjectives, nouns, verbs, adverbs, clauses, that's not a word type but still a pretty core one, and prepositions. Okay, so these are our core cards. And then we'll have a look at the support cards. So the support cards, which I have got as a white background, are the cards that connect to the core cards. Now some core cards connect to each other, but these ones connect to the core cards, and they are the magical items and equipment that you can give to your monsters to make them even tougher, even more powerful. So we see we've got a magical necklace, totem, cloak of leaves, we've got a bow and arrow, and we've got a magical staff, and because this is the forest deck, we've got some woodland sprites instead of equipment, or woodland fairies instead of equipment, various different ones, masks, and some more fairies there as well. So the symbology on the card is very similar. At the bottom we have the grammatical term that activates this piece of equipment. Now in this case it's past tense, and you can see it's on a white background, which tells us it's a support card. It doesn't have an abbreviation under it like the core cards do, like that noun does, because nothing really connects to the support cards in that way. But we do have the little arrow which tells us what card this support card connects to, so what card we can give this magical necklace to. And you can see it's a V, so we can give it to a card that has the abbreviation of V, which is fairly straightforward. You probably guessed it, it's a verb. So if I find my verbs, which are just here, we can connect this card, the past tense, to the verb, like that. And you can see now, and you can read across actually, you've got a past tense verb. Walked, I suppose, would be one. Now these are connected now as a group, and the support cards add extra defense. So in this case, this magical necklace will add an extra 4 defense to our core card, and it will add +1 attack to our core card. So it will add an extra attack. So if we attacked with these two together, we would then have an attack of 10 and 1, 11, and if we needed to defend with them against a nefarious assault by our opponent, we can have a defense of 5 and 4, which will give us a defense of 9. So that's basically the different types of cards. You've got your core cards and your support cards. You will need to keep them in these separate piles when you play. When you build your deck, like I said before, there aren't a set number of cards, because it changes depending on what you've done in a class or what cards you have. So if you haven't covered prepositions, for instance, you might not have the preposition card. But one of the rules is you have 2 of each type of grammatical card. So it might be 2 past tenses. You'd need 2 past tenses, 2 perfects, 2 progressive, 2 present tenses, 2 subordinates, 2 relatives. So you have 2 of each type of card in your deck. And when you're playing your opponent, you just need to make sure that you've both got 2 of each type, and that one of you isn't playing with more cards than the other or less cards than the other. So you have 2 of each type, and you can see you've got lots of different ones: present tense, pronouns, main, relative and subordinate. So you do that for your support cards. You also do that for your core cards as well. Now when you're building your deck, they don't all have to be from the same theme deck, so they don't all have to be forest. As you spread out and you get more cards, you may wish to trade your cards with other people, so then you can have a mixed deck. But you must always have, for instance, 2 verbs. One might be from the forest deck and one might be from maybe the earth deck. 2 adverbs, again, one might be from the forest deck, one might be from the water deck, and so on and so forth, so that you have 2 of each type of card. And that's basically the symbology and what you will see on these cards. And you're almost ready to go. So you'll get your 2 decks, and you'll place them in front of you like this. You need to give them a good shuffle without looking. You might want to ask your opponent to give them a shuffle for you, depending on whether they trust you or not, I suppose. And so you have 2 decks and you're ready to go. Now, actually making the cards, like I said before in the intro, you can download these cards as is, just like that, and you print them out. I then cut them out and laminated them just so they've got a bit more survivability, because I've actually only printed them on paper. Like I said, I don't really have the ability to print large amounts of professional cards, but it seems to do well if you do it like that. For the core cards, you do need some designation that they're a core card on the back, so you can separate them like that. I've found if you've got a printer that can print double-sided, or even a photocopier, you can print them and print that on the back in one go. I did start off by mounting these on black card and then laminating them, but that took a long time, and this is much simpler. Okay, so that's basically the intro. You've had a look at all the cards in the forest deck and what the symbology means. In the next video, I'll go through some of the phases of actually fighting with these cards and how we get into practicing our grammar through them. But as you can see already, you've got those lovely connections between the grammatical words. Okay, thanks for watching. Have fun grammariing. I like to invent words, and that's my first invented word today, is grammariing. Let's turn it into a lovely verb. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.